Hey there, it's Whitney with Love God Greatly, week 4, chapter 4 of our Esther study. And this is the week where you will hear the famous words, "for such a time as this." And those are powerful, life-changing words that Mordecai used to convince Esther to approach the king on behalf of the nation of Israel. Life-changing. But in the midst of really identifying with those words, I don't want you to miss so many other lessons that are woven through chapter 4. God has just brought some of these to mind. Maybe you will study and find even more that apply to your life this week. But I have listed 6 key lessons that I have found on the blog today that just challenge us to prepare ourselves to be used by God. Now, that is a tricky thing because we want to admit that God is completely sovereign, that He is the one that has the power to align all of the circumstances and the people and the places all in the right timing to bring us to a point, much like Esther, where we could be used by God. And so I don't want to minimize that at all. Please understand. But I do think that as followers of Christ, we have opportunities to prepare ourselves to be used by God. I want to be responsible in what God has entrusted to me. I want to prepare my heart in wisdom and in prayer. And I want to be constantly in His Word, and so that I'm growing closer to Him, so that when the time does come when God says, "Whitney, I want to use you in this area," that I'm ready for that time, for such a time as this. So work through those 6 lessons. See if you can find more. And my challenge to you this week is to identify the potential of the position that God has you in. Now, I don't care if you are in the workplace or at home, or if you're on the soccer field, or if you are in the hospital room. God has you in whatever circumstance that you are in for a specific reason at this time. He can use that circumstance for your good, for His glory, and we never know when we need to be prepared for such a time as this. So identify that potential, take that to prayer, and ask God to really help you to be wise and to prepare you for that time. And then take one small step. It can just be small, but take that step to make an effort to reach out and to be bold for Christ wherever God has you this week. Now, back to the sovereignty of God. I want to leave you with some verses from 2 Corinthians chapter 3, because the truth is, we could do all the preparing in the world, but humanly speaking, we will always be lacking. But when we have our eyes fixed on Christ, when we rely on His strength, the power that raised Christ from the dead is living inside of us if we know Him, if we are a child of God. And so our competence does not come from ourselves. It comes from Christ. And chapter 3, verse 5 says, "Not that we are competent in ourselves to claim anything for ourselves, but our competence comes from God." And I love verse 12 that follows up with this. "Therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold." We can be bold, just like Esther, because we have the competence that comes from Christ. Give your all to Him this week. Give Him your willing heart. Give Him your humble offering, and He'll take it. He'll start with something small, and He'll add His power to it, and He'll multiply it for His glory if you just say that you're willing. Thank you so much for joining us for week 4, and I am praying for you this week. Bye-bye.